Hey, what's up guys? Matt Ogus here, and in this video, well, the reason I'm making it is because I have a personal friend who, I've been helping out at the gym, been teaching him things, spending a lot of time, I'm talking hours and hours and hours of time, teaching him things at the gym. Obviously, I don't have tons and tons of free time. I have a baby at home, I have a business to run, but I've been spending just ridiculous amounts of time with him at the gym to help him and to guide him. And he recently asked a mutual friend of ours a question. He brought up a topic that is well beyond his scope, that is so far outside of what he should be focusing on that it honestly got me a little bit concerned, straight up concerned. So I wanted to make this video along with some more videos to kind of teach my buddy, my friend who's probably watching this, some of the basics, maybe some of the things that I didn't cover in depth enough at the gym, since obviously we only have a limited amount of time there, and the gym we're busy lifting and doing other things. I'm teaching you form at the gym, so I wanted to make this video to hopefully give this individual a solid foundation and to get him to focus on the things that matter. And yeah, so I asked permission if I could give the context here. I'm not going to tell you his name or share any personal information, obviously, but some of the context of this individual is that good friend of mine, super down-to-earth individual. In fact, he's one of those people who says exactly what's on their mind, and he never comes from a place of and when I say that is, he's very goofy and cool, but very spiritual and very just raw and real dude at the gym, and he means good at all times. He's just very curious and just a great dude. I could go on and on, but I've been teaching him things at the gym. I've been trying to start from the basics. I've been trying to teach him squat form, bench press form. These things take tons and tons of time. Tons of my time at the gym when I'm helping him is teaching him form, so I haven't really gotten into other concepts of lifting, such as some of the things we'll be covering today and in future videos. And some more context is that we have a mutual friend at the gym who's like, hey, did you hear what so-and-so said to me? I'm like, what did he say? And I was curious because my buddy, he can say some funny things at times. So he came up to me, he asked me, hey man, what do you know about human growth hormone? And I was like, really, are you serious? We kind of laughed a little bit because, obviously, a day one complete beginner who doesn't even know what the word progressive overload means, or the term progressive overload, doesn't know what that means, couldn't tell you how many calories are in a gram of fat, couldn't tell you what muscles are worked in the bench press, is asking about human growth hormone. And it's something totally outside of the scope of what he should be focusing on as a day one beginner. Right, which is some things we're going to talk about in this video and future videos. So, I was concerned, of course. We're both kind of laughing at the same time because we understand it's almost comical that someone would be thinking about steroids or human growth hormone when, they still need to learn how to lift. So my friend was like, man, he's like, he'd be better off just going home and hanging himself. He's worrying about like these rapid gains. He doesn't know how to lift yet, focusing on steroids. And then he said, and we kind of laughed a little bit. He's like, I've been working hard, when do the gains come? When do the gains come? So that's the context, all right, of this video and of some more videos that I plan on making for my buddy. So let's dive right in. You got the context. Sorry that intro was super long. Let's get started. So before I dive into what exactly you need to focus on, let's talk about why or how and why most people fail at building muscle, right? And by fail, there's varying degrees to this, of course, right? For some people, it will be not getting the results that you want. It might be just struggling, constantly questioning yourself, perhaps not getting any results over long periods of time, or it could be totally just psychological, and we'll get to that in just a moment. So, the first main component for, why a lot of people are failing at transforming their bodies is obviously going to be the elephant in the room, which is the key factor for any sort of change in your life, right? It's effort. effort, okay? You know, if you're not placing effort in certain places in your life, there's going to be absolutely no change. You know, even if a person trains like a complete airhead, you know, does the craziest, darnest things at the gym, they're still likely better off than the version of themselves that stayed home and just stayed on the couch, or just, you know, didn't go to the gym and at least put in that effort, okay? So we know that effort is absolutely required. We have the general notion that, you know, more effort equals more results, and for the most part, that is true. It's the key differentiator between most people who make gains, make transformations, versus those who don't, okay? But, you know, assuming you're watching this video, assuming you are most people that are willing to put in the effort, that is kind of the direction that we want to go with this video and with, you know, the workshop. So in fact, when it comes to effort, let's get a little deeper here. A lot of people mistake effort as the only thing that matters, okay? A lot of people think that it's really just about having this hammer and smacking as hard as possible, right? They think it's all about how hard they could just swing this damn hammer, okay? But in reality, they might be better off, you know, worrying about their focus and where they're hitting the hammer. Oh, I should hit it right there, kind of like that, and then, you know, apply some pressure, okay? A lot of people are simply just swinging this hammer, right? They're in a room where they have to hit a nail on the head and then nail into the wall, but their eyes are closed and they're just swinging this damn hammer all around. That essentially is the metaphor of how a lot of people approach the gym, okay? We think it's just about swinging this hammer, eyes closed, when in reality, there's certain places we should put this effort. It needs to be calculated, it needs to be intelligent, it has to be structured, okay? And in fact, we mess up when we think it's just about more effort, more effort, more effort. And when it's not in the right place, you're wasting more time, you're wasting more energy, you could be building bad habits, building bad form, and likely decreasing your long-term gains compared to putting the effort in the right places, all right? Now, another reason how and why a lot of people fail at building muscle is because they lack something crucial. It's because they lack patience, okay? Now, I'm not saying, you know, you need to just be able to sit there and just do nothing and wait for the gains to come. Of course, you got to put an effort in the right places, but you also, it's going to take time, okay? Even if everything is perfect, it is going to take time. But the good thing is, you know, with this video and future videos, we'll be making it so that however much patience you have, however much effort you have, it's going to be utilized in a better way, all right? When it comes to patience, most people want instant gratification. They think that effort needs to equal results, and they think that effort is just, of course, how hard they're pushing on a given set or in a given workout, how many, you know, total hours they spent in the gym, how many total days they went to the gym. But these aren't necessarily the things that actually matter, okay? Yeah, going to the gym 3 days per week is different than going to the gym 0 days per week, but that's not exactly where the effort matters, okay? It's about putting things in the right place. Okay, so yeah, we just talked about instant gratification. For example, instant grat. The next thing about patience is patience in terms of learning how to lift, you know, learning form. That's something that takes crazy amounts of patience that a lot of people are not willing, or, you know, they don't understand the importance of it when it comes to lifting weights. You know, they'll just go in there and think it's all about the effort, not having any patience to learn proper form to maximize that effort, setting yourself up for a lot of wasted motion, a lot of wasted time. And another kind of side to a lack of patience is a lot of people are overconfident slash they are not humble, when it comes to what they know about lifting, what they think they know. A lot of people just are not willing to do any more research. They're not willing to get more information, not willing to learn. And once again, they think it's all just about their personal effort, swinging that hammer, eyes closed. But that's not the way to go at all. Okay, so you have a combination of misplaced effort. We have a combination of not enough patience, and the big one, say that someone does have patience, say someone is willing to put their effort in specific places, not just in annihilating themselves. A lot of people lack, of course, the know-how, the knowledge, the system, the how. Okay, a lot of people haven't quite grasped a lot of the things that we'll be covering in this, whether they're a beginner like my buddy, or they just never learned over time throughout their lifting career what truly matters. And it's unfortunate, but we're going to fix that. Okay, we are going to fix that. Let me just write some. So maybe maybe you're a beginner, maybe you have a flawed system. And for some people, you may have tried systems before, you may have tried methods, you may have tried certain types of workouts or certain people or certain gurus, you may have tried their stuff. A lot of people have a huge issue with, program hopping, okay? Now, one okay thing is that at least with people that are program hopping means they've actually ran a program and likely they've gotten some sort of result. But you need to be able to stick to something long enough to actually get the intended adaptations that you're going for. There's a key word in lifting, adaptation. We want adaptation. That's why we are doing the things that we're doing so that our body adapts. Typically it's with these gurus out there and marketing, the word adaptation has this negative connotation, like it's a bad thing. No, in fact, that's exactly what we do want. We want our body to be able to adapt to lifting these heavy ass weights, okay, and increasingly heavier weights over time. So look, these are some of the main reasons why people are failing at building muscle, failing at building strength. I could go on and on. My point isn't to press these buttons, and I'm sure a lot of people almost feel offended because this is really personal for a lot of people when it comes to lifting. Maybe people take this shit personally, but try to dissociate the emotion, dissociate your identity with, what you think lifting is or what you think, nutrition and training is. Take a step back, dissociate yourself, and realize, you're here to maximize your gains. Do not emotionally connect yourself with, I'm a guy who puts in max effort, no matter how closed my eyes are swinging this damn hammer. Okay, we're gonna change things. We wanna revolutionize the way you train now and in the future. So now, let's take a look at the 3 keys to actually doing the damn thing. What are the 3 keys to building muscle, to gaining strength, to transforming your physique? I'm gonna clean this off and let's get started. All right, so let's dive into the foundation. Let's talk about the 3 major keys to making gains. Gains in muscle size, gains in strength, and gains in the overall look and aesthetic of your physique, okay? One misconception that I get that's huge, it's honestly huge, is that a lot of people place just a huge and a ridiculously high level of kind of mental importance to the nutritional aspect, especially in terms of the cleanliness or the moral righteousness of the foods they eat when it comes to making gains, okay? And while you're watching this, keep an open mind, think about what I just said, and think about where you stand in the spectrum of what you think is important to making gains. And as I list these points, kind of just let it open up in your mind without any sort of, fierce resistance, okay? Because my number one point in terms of making gains that I want to get across has nothing to do with your diet. It has nothing to do with the foods you eat. Now, of course, there are certain special, crazy arguments people can make. What about, starving children in Africa? Or, what about these, anorexic, etc. cases? Like, I'm not talking about special cases. I'm talking to you, the general, average person that is sitting here in front of their phone or their computer screen. I'm talking about you, assuming you don't have a medical condition, assuming you're not, 0% body fat, sick, etc. For most people, the reason they're not building muscle, the thing that makes the biggest change is training. It's training. Why? Because look, if you have two identical twins, right? We tell one, hey, eat whatever you want, eat your average diet, eat whatever however you'd like, eat whatever you want, eat your average diet, American diet, Western diet, whatever, but go to the gym, 3 to 5 days per week, and perhaps we give that person a program. Or we have this person over here, we say, dude, let's focus on your diet. Let's nail the nutrition down. Let's have the perfect macros. Let's have all of the micronutrition that we need for maximum function, for maximum gains, but you're not allowed to go to the gym. Not allowed to go to the gym, okay? We have these two identical twins, okay? Everything is the same except the diet and training. Who do you think is going to make more gains over the course of a year? Right? The person who we have actually train, or the person we're like, hey dude, don't train, but get your diet down and let's just nail that diet. The person who actually trains is going to make the gains. This person is going to make, assuming they weren't anorexic, assuming they weren't malnourished, etc. This person is going to be pretty much exactly the same in terms of their muscle size and in terms of their body composition at the end of the year. But this person will likely see body composition changes. He'll likely see less fat and more muscle. He will definitely see more strength and more muscle gains because he was actually training. Okay? So number one is progressive overload. Or more specifically, I'm going to write progressive tension overload. Progressive tension overload. Okay, what is progressive overload? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm misspelling things over here. Progressive overload is when you have a certain level of ability that you're capable of. Say on the bench press, you're capable of doing this much. Say with a certain amount of weight, you're capable of doing this many reps. It's basically aiming high or near the maximum, ability. That is basically progressive overload. Okay, progressive overload is performing to, towards, near, or at your maximum capability of performance, and your body will respond with adaptations so that in the future it's easier for you to do that. Okay, now this doesn't mean that every single session you're making improvements, but on average, what we're doing is we're increasing that because your body has adapted to what you did over time or what you do over time. We're constantly increasing because you now say you did this much, this much close to your maximum ability. Over time it's getting easier. Now your maximum is way over here, okay? So we're constantly pushing the boundary, and your relative performance compared to your maximum, it's not like that's what's changing. What's changing is your absolute performance level is going up over time. We're constantly, training near your absolute kind of level of performance. And what that means is training intensely, training hard, training within 5 reps of failure. That's what we mean by, progressive overload. And then over time, on average, that's increasing in terms of the absolute kind of weight or the absolute volume. That's what's increasing over time, okay? The reason I put progressive tension overload is because, it's not just about, the weight times reps times sets. It's not just about what's on the bar. What also matters is how you're actually performing it. You know, this holds the assumption that isn't always assumed or isn't always kind of clarified, that, you know, progressive overload is keeping everything the same but increasing the total reps, sets, volume, or load, the weight on the bar, over time. Tension, we're kind of reminding ourselves, okay, that's assuming we're keeping things the same in terms of how we're performing the lift, keeping the form the same, keeping the tempo the same, etc. For example, you know, if you are increasing the weight on the bar, but every single session you're drastically decreasing the amount of time it takes to complete the set, you're going, you know, faster negatives, and you're changing that aspect of the lift. You know, we're changing multiple variables at once. That's why we kind of want to keep most things in terms of lifting the same, so that we only have to manipulate as little, you know, as few variables as possible. Okay, so what that takes into consideration is form, takes into consideration technique, takes into consideration, you know, how you're performing the lift in terms of the tempo. And it's super simple, because what we can simply do is focus first on achieving adequate form, achieving technical proficiency in the major lifts that train the muscles you want to grow. Okay? Bench press, prime mover, chest, triceps, shoulders after the chest, right? If we're performing the exercise correctly, we're going to be hitting the muscles that we want to grow. Same thing with the other lifts, chin-ups, squats, deadlifts. If you're performing the movement correctly, the prime movers of the movement are going to increase in size as you keep your form the same, keep your technique the same, but increase your performance, increase the weight, reps, volume, etc. over time, okay? But once again, you know, we're keeping the form the same, assuming that it's at a proficient level of how it should be and how you want it to be performed for your body. We're keeping that the same. We're increasing the weight and the metrics over time, okay? Slowly over time on average. It doesn't have to be every single workout, but over time, say you got your squat down, then we're adding weight to the bar over time, okay? And we'll talk about how to do that, more of the fine details later on. Now, after, okay, this is the reason muscles are growing. You know, the training is stimulative. The nutrition is permissive. And let me make sure this camera's still on. Cool. Training is stimulative. Nutrition is permissive. That's the reason I put training first. Now, of course, if we have a starving person who's about to die of starvation, of course, their key to making gains is going to be, let's actually get them eating and get them healthy before having them train. Duh, because there's going to be a couple people who say that. But only after, you know, training is the number one reason that our muscles are adapting, okay? Your body isn't like, oh my gosh, I got the perfect amount of protein, let's grow in size. Of course, if you are under consuming protein, then, you know, upping your protein is going to be helpful, but your body isn't like, oh my God, these macros were perfect, let's grow. It's more like, oh crap, I just felt all that progressive overload. Holy, that was a little bit more than last time. Is a little bit more. Oh, in the presence of nutrition, we got nutrition? Cool, let's grow. That's kind of the order that growth occurs, right? The training is stimulative, the nutrition is permissive. Now, of course, now we'll talk about nutrition. So what else is important? These two can kind of be interchanged, my next 2 points, okay, in terms of importance. And in fact, let's not even worry so much about the importance here of which one comes first before the others. Both are very, very important. So the next two most important key factors for making gains and maximizing gains are going to be calories and your protein intake, okay? A lot of people mess up on, especially the calories, and definitely the protein intake too, okay? I think it's especially for those who get into the lifting sort of thing, you start doing research, a lot of the people overconsume their protein, and a lot of people overconsume the calories that are gonna be required to, you know, facilitate the body changes that they actually want, all right? terms of the calories, a lot of people are just bulking way too hard. A lot of people are over consuming and adding just tons and tons of body fat when they didn't really have to consume that many calories while still getting just as much muscle and strength gains. Okay. First though, let's talk about protein because it's the simplest one to handle in terms of nutritionally, how do we maximize these gains? We just need to consume enough protein, okay? It doesn't have to be a ton. If you love protein, you could consume a little bit more than what I'm about to suggest, but you definitely don't want to be under consuming, far below this range that I'm gonna write down. And this range that's supported by the body of evidence is going to be around 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of your body weight, okay? Where should you fall on that line? Let's start with this side. Let's say you like protein, you like eating meat, you're weight training obviously, and you're perhaps on the leaner side. That's where, say just aiming for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is gonna be great. Super simple, right? How much do you weigh? Okay, aim for that much. Now let's say you're a little bit say you don't like eating meat or you don't like eating protein or you struggle financially to get enough. For whatever reason, say you're a little bit, higher than lean. You're not exactly lean. You have a little bit more body fat. That's where aiming for 0.8 grams per pound of body weight is okay. Now let's say you're, much overweight. Then, you save hundreds of pounds of fat on your body. That's where, we wouldn't exactly use this scale. We might use this scale, but per pound of lean body mass, okay? So if you were really overweight, we use this, but it would be for pounds of lean body mass, right? But for most of us, especially the skinny guys, the guys that are hard gainers, the guys that are trying to build muscle, most of us just aiming for about 1 gram per pound of body weight is easy, super simple. You can do this year round. You can do it while traveling. You could do it while eating out. You could consume at least this much so that we're making sure we're getting enough protein to retain or build muscle and strength at all times. Okay, it's really that simple in terms of the protein. And now in terms of calories, it gets a little bit more complicated because to know exactly how many calories you're consuming, it requires a little bit more work, right? To track these calories by weighing them and or inputting them into a food tracking app like MyFitnessPal. And then of course, it matters what that does to your body weight, so on and so forth. So it's a little bit more difficult. That's why I'm straight up saying at least aim for progressive tension overload in the gym using good form. At least aim for your protein intake of around 1 gram per pound of body weight. And then once you can nail these, then you could, position yourself for the optimal amount of calorie intake that equals gets you towards your goals. All right. So let's say your goal is to maximize your muscle gains. Okay. Do you want to maximize the muscle gains? Do you want to remain relatively lean? Okay. If you want to maximize your muscle gains, literally have as much muscle and strength gain as possible, and you don't care so much about, staying super lean or staying relatively lean, then you would want to basically take and look at the maximum amount of muscle you could gain per week or per month and surpass that in terms of weight gain. Okay. How much muscle can a brand new beginner, how much muscle did I, gain my first year of lifting? For most people, for most males of, average genetics, average height, and so on, give or take around 2 pounds per month is usually where, that's right around the maximum amount of muscle gain potential most males have per month. It's going to vary. Some people are going to have more, some people are going to have less, some people, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now it's like, do you want to maximize gains at the cost of adding more body fat? If you do, then you would want to, gain at least 2 pounds. I really hope you can see that over there. Let me double check. Okay, yeah. You would want to gain at least 2 pounds per month of weight if you wanted to maximize gains. If you wanted to maximize lean gains, you would have this be the maximum amount of weight you would want to gain per month. So if you wanted to, have tons of gains, but, stay on the safe side in terms of fat gain, you don't want to like look horrible, at the end of this bulk or whatever. You would aim up to 2 pounds per month. All right. The newbies, you can aim up to about 2 pounds per month in terms of weight gain. That's going to be 1/2 pound per week, right? Let's say you're more of an advanced lifter. If you're more of an advanced lifter, you're going to go less than that, of course, okay? So advanced lifters, you might aim for, let's say up to 1.5 pounds per month, okay? In general, up to 1.5 pounds per month. And if you wanted to, stay more on the lean side, you would aim more for the 1 pound per month. So it really just depends. If you want to kind of, stay relatively lean, give or take, up to about 1.5 pounds per month. If have already been lifting, you're, closer to your maximum potential, you've been lifting for years, that's kind of the range of calorie intake of the rate of weight gain per month you would want to aim for to make gains, okay? Now, why did I talk about this rate of weight gain? What about the calories? Well, the calories that you consume is going to result in something happening with your body weight, okay? So for most of us, like I said before, we eat at around maintenance calories. That means we eat at around the same amount of calories that we burn per day, okay? So if you were able to track that, say you start tracking all the foods you eat in MyFitnessPal today for 7 or 14 days straight, you're gonna know, okay, on average I ate about, let's just say 2,000 calories. 2,000 calories. And what you would wanna do at the same time is weigh yourself daily and compare week 1's average weigh-in to week 2's average weigh-in, right? And the only way to weigh yourself if you're gonna be doing this is in the morning after you wake up, before you eat or drink anything, after you use the bathroom, number 1, number 2, don't force it if you don't need to, but after you use the bathroom, weigh yourself about as nude as possible and track it. I use this thing called Happy Scale, great app, right? You track that, you compare week 1's average weigh-in to week 2's average weigh-in, and you see what the rate of weight gain was, okay? If nothing happened, you take a look at your average calorie intake, and okay, that was about your maintenance. If you gained weight, you understand that the calories, the average calories you consumed per day did this to your weight, okay? So that is the connection between your calorie intake and the rate of weight gain. That's how the two tie together, all right? It's not just about focusing on this kind of magical calorie intake that some calculator tells you, like, oh, you need to eat this many calories. It's more so about the application. And if you're wondering kind of just some free ball, what might be your calorie maintenance, like I said, the best way to find out is to just start weighing yourself, start tracking your food, and you'll see where you end up, okay? To maximize the lean gains, for most beginners, aim for, up to about 2 pounds per month. If you've been lifting for a longer period of time, maybe perhaps up to about 1.5 pounds per month, okay? Any more than that is where people mess up. Where people are gaining, 1 to 2 pounds per week, that's where regret occurs. That's where you're spending so much time flip-flopping between bulking and cutting, okay? There's some people that'll bulk for like just a month and they're like, oh my God, I got fat, I need to cut. So they're constantly changing their training and their nutrition because they weren't just able to stay gradual, all right? Because they were aiming for something crazy to begin with. So aim for this gradual kind of level of calorie intake that ends up resulting for most of the skinny guys in about about 1/2 pound of weight gain per week. Will put you in a very good place for maximizing lean gains, okay? So remember, these are the three major keys to making gains. It's not necessarily about, okay, how clean am I eating? What's the religion of the eating? Am I eating paleo, keto, etc.? Perfect amount of carbs, perfect amount of fats. You don't want to underconsume any macronutrient. You don't want to underconsume fats or underconsume carbs. You want to be consuming enough protein, and you want your calorie intake to match what you want to occur with your general body weight, okay? So if you want that body weight to go up, specifically if you want to gain muscle, you want the calorie intake to reflect the rate of weight gain that we are aiming for, all right? Now for most people, it's going to theoretically be anywhere between, 200 to 500. Some of the much more advanced lifters might aim for a little bit less than 200 calorie surplus per day. But for the most part, most people are safe in this range without having to worry about too much fat gain, okay? More of the beginners can aim for the 500 calorie surplus-ish per day. Totally fine. More advanced guys aim for the 200-ish. And once again, this is just the starting point. This is assuming if you're using a calculator, right? Like a calculator online, or if you're using just Freeball. Like for example, one of the recommended kind of maintenance estimations is 14 to 16 calories per pound body weight. So you take your body weight, let's just use mine for example. Boom, a little bit less than 180, but let's just say 180 times 15, 2,700 calories. So my estimated, just free ball kind of rough estimate, is about 2,700 calories. And if I wanted to, let's just say if I wanted to put myself onto a gaining phase, like a lean gaining phase, I might aim for, around 3,000 calories. But what matters more than this calorie target that I initially start with, if you're doing the estimation method, is aligning the calories, changing them, if and when necessary, to align me to the rate of weight gain that I actually want, okay? So if I was doing this method, I would look at this 3,000 calories per day if I started hitting that for 1 to 2 weeks, and I would look at my body weight, and if I was gaining, let's just say half a pound a month, or it seems like I'll be gaining about half a pound a month, I would increase that, right? I would just naturally increase that. That'd be the logical thing to do. I would increase the amount of calories to put me more so towards this range, okay? So, kind of talked about some things that you may not have been expecting. You might have been expecting specific techniques and specific drop sets and all these different things. But guys, these are the major keys to making gains, right? It's going to come down to this: the training, progressive tension overload, the calorie intake, the protein intake, and honestly, that's it, right? So in the next video, we'll be covering some more so in the realm of training, okay? We covered a little bit about nutrition here. Honestly, a little bit more than I was planning on covering here. But in the next video, we will be talking more about training. How can we really force that progressive overload, okay? What does that look like? That's gonna be the next video. I will see you then.